Hi, my name is Kelvin Newman and welcome to the Brighton SEO podcast, where we share talks from one of the world's most popular search and marketing conferences. The event started out as a few people meeting in an upstairs room of a pub and is now attended by over 3,000 people from all over the world. This episode is a recording of one of the speakers at a recent event.
With that, I'm going to introduce Duane Brown from Take Some Risk, who is going to talk around competitor bidding and the halo effect of competitor bidding. Over to Duane.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if it's good cop, bad cop. I guess it'd be the bad cop technically, because I think competitor bidding is a good thing. And for any accounts we've taken over for clients, it's generally a top 2 or top 3 campaign in terms of both CPA, click-through rate, and just in terms of bringing the client business. But we're going to chat about a little bit about how we got to where we are. We'll talk a little bit about challenges, a little bit about solutions, and then we'll talk sort of how I built competitor campaigns and results we had for a fintech or financial client back in Canada. So if we go back to 2011, which doesn't feel very far away, but it kind of is, we've all probably seen this graph of like the technology landscape, and there's lots of technology companies and things are really great. But then you fast forward 5 years to 2016, and you see that it's basically doubled, tripled, quadrupled. There's like more competition in every space. Any young person under 25 with a smidgen of an idea will launch a campaign and VCs will give them money. And that's made the market really, quite frankly, competitive, right? You've got more people bidding on just about everything and anything out there. And if every business is a technology business, how do you compete in this marketplace, right? If everyone says they need to have machine learning or AI, or they need to have the latest technology to compete, and everyone's getting VC money, how do you compete in the landscape, right? How do you become Muhammad Ali, knock out your competition, make sure that you stay aggressive and stay ahead of the game? So we have some challenges, right? We have this chart from iProspect. They put out every year like the trends on CPCs, and we know that CPCs are going up every year, whether that's actually because the market's really going up or that's just Google telling us all we've got to bid more money every quarter because they want to make more money because of a bottom line, remains to be seen, but we know that we're all paying more every quarter. We also know that year over year, and even into this year, we'll see mobile becomes a bigger part of how we shop online and what we do online, which means that Google and every search engine is going to have us spend a lot more money on mobile devices, right? Because we know that's where we're spending our time. And then even the challenge of the market of, the last couple of years, Google's like, we're just going to get rid of ads on the right-hand side. And some people freaked out, and some people thought it was good. And I was like, I don't really care, because I don't really have ads shown on the right-hand side. I'm usually not in position 4, position 5 for most clients. But I can see if you're a brand that you're in position 4 or 5 and you're on the right-hand side, that could be really challenging for your business. And this, for some industries, probably had them increase competition in the marketplace. So then it brings back my original question is basically, how do you compete, right? How do you go out in the market and become really competitive? And so my solution, obviously, is to bid on competitor terms, right? And accounts I've taken over either from agencies in the UK or agencies across Europe or even back home in Canada often find either people aren't bidding on competitor terms or they're doing, I don't want to say a shit job, but they're doing a bit of a crappy job in the sense that they're not really structuring their competitor campaign in a way that makes it easy for them to bid on the competitor term and make sure they show the right ad to the right person when they're showing, when a person is doing a search. So if we look at competitor bidding and how to do it, I think there's some things that I always do with every client. There's some things I change with every client, but we'll go through how I do it and why I do it. So why I do it is obviously awareness, right? If you're a small company or you're a startup and you don't have tons of money, to go and bid on non-brand would be really expensive. But if you bid on competitor terms, they're usually a lot cheaper from CPC perspective. And if people know you exist as an option, that means they can pick you, right? Because people don't know you're an option. They can't pick you as a solution in the marketplace. And then, as I said before, the CPCs are usually a little bit cheaper than what you'd see for non-brand stuff. And it looks at, and in terms of a funnel, where I look at it as sort of sits, you have generic at the top, you've got competitors, and you have brand. Because people who search for, let's say, Shopify, if I want to build a competitor to Shopify, they probably know Shopify is one of their options. They're going to search for that, right? Because they want to know what other things are out there in the marketplace. And so by bidding on competitor terms, it allows me to, A, have something that's a little bit cheaper, B, make sure my client or any client we have is out there in the market so that when someone decides I need a Shopify or something like that, they know we're an option. And I said this a second ago, but I think it really is important to say is that people don't know who you are out there in the marketplace. They can't pick you as an option. Lots of clients think that, oh, we spent lots of money on like outdoor or lots of money on like out of home and things of that nature. And the reality is, and I think we all agree, that we spend a lot of time online. We spend a lot of time seeing lots of ads everywhere, and it's always hard to remember that one ad you saw from that one company. And it's important to be everywhere, whether it's out of home or online or radio. That way you make sure that your brand has full coverage, because some clients are like, well, I don't need to spend money on this campaign because everyone already knows who I am. But more times than not, people usually don't know who you are when it comes to branding. So the question comes in, how do you do it? How do you sort of build a really good campaign and make sure that you are competitive in the marketplace? All right. So I find a lot of companies sometimes will want to compete on price, right? They'll think we have the cheapest price in the market. We're going to be like Sam's Club or Walmart or Argos or something like that. And I often tell clients, if the only way you can compete is on price, you've probably already lost the market, right? People, unless they're really price conscious, don't generally buy based on price. They'll buy because of like the features, potentially. They'll buy because of the benefits, i.e. you get back more time if you hire like a cleaner, or you figure out how to basically say that, you know, price isn't the only way you're going to compete, right? Because if you only compete on price, you probably already lost. And so I've got a friend who works actually at Purple, which is like a Casper mattress company you can order online. And their competitor basically says, why use and why go and buy Purple, right? It's more expensive than us. And he made a very good point, basically, that if the only way they compete is based on price, they're probably already going to lose, right? Because it's a mattress, right? When you buy a mattress, you're going to have it for the next 10 years. You want to make sure that you buy a good quality mattress, and you don't necessarily want to buy the cheapest mattress. Unless maybe you're a college student and you don't have tons of money, he knows that most people are going to want to buy a mattress that's of good quality. And then I find a lot of people when they do competitor campaigns, they'll send traffic to their homepage for whatever reason, whether it's that people are super lazy and they don't want to build a landing page, or people think, well, people will just figure out where they want to go on a website, which could potentially happen. But I generally tell clients, don't just send traffic to your homepage, because then you're asking customers to do choose your own adventure, right? You're asking them to figure out like what your company's about, what your brand is about, what it stands for. And if people have to hunt for everything on your website, it becomes a lot harder for them to figure out whether they want to buy from you or they want to buy from someone else. And then this is an example from Magento. Basically, Magento, I'm going to say they've decided they're going to try and go after Shopify because they feel Shopify is their biggest competition. What I find interesting about this landing page that they built is that Magento felt it was important for them to point out where maybe Shopify isn't as strong. And I think as anyone who knows, if you sort of point out your client's weakness or you point out the weakness of your competitors, it's almost like you're saying basically we're afraid of them in the market. Magento's basically saying, well, Shopify's only got 12 of the top 1,000 merchants. It's basically saying, well, Magento's probably afraid of Shopify and what they're doing, because Shopify, outside of being a Canadian company, they're trying to brute force their way to the top. They've hired thousands of people. They have lots of money. And if I'm going to point out what Shopify is doing on my landing page, when someone's clicked on an ad and come to my landing page, I'm probably telling that person that I'm afraid of what Shopify is going to do, which makes me want to go and see what is Shopify doing. Should I choose that as an option? So I often tell clients, don't necessarily focus on what your competitors are doing, especially on your landing page. You want your landing page to be about who you are as a brand, what you stand for, your USP. You definitely don't want it to be about your other competitors and what they're doing in the marketplace. And then when I think about building a landing page for a client, because I don't want to send traffic to the homepage, I think of a lot of things from pre-qualifying people, which could be having like the pricing extension in AdWords, or it could just having the pricing on the actual landing page itself. Like last year, we worked on a B2B brand where the client was like, we don't want to have price on the landing page. We want people to call us and talk to someone. And I'm like, you're at a price point that if you don't have the price on the landing page, you're going to have tons of people who don't, A, have money to afford you, and B, when they find out what you price, they're going to think you're too expensive. It's far superior and smarter to have the pricing on the landing page. That way, when someone comes to the page, they can decide whether you're the right service for them, whether they have like $500 a month to spend or 1,000 quid a month to spend, but not from the pricing on the landing page just has the effect that you're just going to get a lot of unqualified people, which isn't really good. And then other things I'll get on the landing page are just like features and benefits. Lots of landing pages tend to talk about just the features, what are people going to get? But a lot of people want to buy benefits, right? What is the benefit of using your product or your service at the end of the day versus your competition? I think when you talk more about benefits, people realize where they're going to be in, let's say, 6 months with your service or 12 months with your service, right? And so talking about features and benefits is important, and not just talking about features on a landing page. The other thing is message match, in the sense that if someone clicks on an ad, that says basically, get more leads from day one, then you want to have get more leads from day one on your landing page. You want that match between what your ad says and what your landing page says, so there's a continuity. Because I've clicked on enough ads on the internet, I think we all have, where you click on an ad, you go to a website or you go to a landing page, and there's a disconnect between what the ad said and what the landing page said. And then there's also things like, hero shot, i.e. have an image at the top of the page that represents what you're going to give or what your offer is going to be. And then it potentially have social proof, i.e. have you won awards or have people said, you're a great product, or do you have customer reviews? Because especially if you're a newer brand or a tech company or a startup, sometimes people aren't sure whether they want to go with you, right? But if you have reviews from other customers, whether it's Google reviews or Trustpilot or something of that nature, it makes people a little bit more confident they should buy your service versus just having a landing page where it has no reviews. And then basically the halo effect, the idea that bidding on brand, I think helps your whole account as a whole because it lets more people be aware that you're an option versus if you didn't bid on competitive terms, people wouldn't necessarily know you're an option potentially. So this is actually a landing page we did for our clients. So this is a fintech company in Canada. And so, for us, being that we're a fintech company, and the client was like, well, we should show off our app, right? Because our app is sort of what you're going to spend most of your time in. You're going to sign up for the service. You're going to download the app. You're going to use it to manage your money. So for us, it made sense to have that be our hero shot. We have a tagline, which is invest for yourself, not by yourself, because the idea that a lot of people want to invest their money. They just don't know what the hell they're doing. I think of my friends in Canada. They're like, I've got $10,000 to invest or I've got $5,000 to invest, but Duane, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I helped the client come up with that tagline because I felt it represented what a lot of people felt. It's like, I want to invest, but I don't know where to start. And then we just have things like the client's story and who they are. And if there's more room on this page, I'd show the rest of the landing page where we talk about sort of the features and benefits and how the company's done in terms of performance over the last year. And then even if you don't build a landing page with all the stuff I talked about before, there are other things you can look at besides testimonials. There are like videos. If you're a product that's super complicated or super hard to understand, video is a great way to sort of get across a very complex topic. So for some clients, video makes a lot of sense as a way to sell what your product or service is. Better copy. I think we've all seen websites, landing pages where the copy maybe isn't as delightful as it could be or it doesn't ring with the audience. And so making sure you're always testing your copy, figuring out what the best copy is to get someone to buy. And then even just a direct comparison. So if you're going to do a direct comparison, obviously you're going to talk about your competition, but you want to do a direct comparison in a way where you're not just saying we have all the same features as our competitors. I think you want to do a direct comparison and also talk about sort of what makes you different, right? What sandbox do you play in? What line in the sand are you going to draw and say these are the kind of customers you want to go after? And then as I said before, and I'll repeat again, like competing on price is probably the worst way to compete because eventually someone can just come to the market and undercut you on price, which is not a good place to be. So one thing I think about when I ask clients, like, who your competition is, lots of clients will say like Amazon, or some clients will laugh at me and say they have no competition, which I'm like, that's really weird because everyone has competition. And so I often tell clients, it doesn't matter who I or you think who your competition is. I think it matters a lot more who your customers think your competition is, because lots of people will spend hours taking a free solution and doing that versus spending money. And much like Netflix says sleep is their competition, lots of people have either free or cheap options as their competition. And so when I think of competitors for clients and their competition, I usually think of like there's direct competitors, there's sort of indirect competitors. So if I was like a landing page tool, I would say like HubSpot is an indirect competitor because HubSpot does like a million other things, but they also have like this little tool over here that does landing pages. I also, as I mentioned, think about like free or other options. People would rather spend tons of time and hack together a solution than they'll spend, 50 quid a month on a tool. And then like most industry, there's like an 800-pound gorilla in the market. And even if you don't think you have competition, I always tell clients, look at like Reddit, Google reviews, look at who people talk about on threads and who they compare you with. Because even if you don't think you have competition, your customers are always going to think you have competition. You need to figure out how you're going to compete with those people to survive. And should you think that I'm crazy and think none of those examples really list, I'm going to give an example from Intercom. So I'm a big fan of Intercom, and they put out an ebook a few months ago on like how they do marketing as a brand. And one of the sections was actually about how they think about their competition, right? And they think about their competition in 4 ways. There's obviously the problem-based solution, i.e. somebody has a problem. They think of category-based solutions, which is more of the examples I gave. They think of just competitors, and then think of brand-based competitors. And I think thinking of your competitors in this way is actually really interesting because it opens up the door to lots of other people you wouldn't necessarily consider competitors in the marketplace. And it helps you think about how you're going to compete with them and how you're going to talk about what makes your brand different from other brands. So when I build an account, basically I think of what keywords I'm going to bid on, and for every client, and if we were doing a tool, let's say to compete against Shopify, I would have like competitor brand would be Shopify. I do like Shopify review, Shopify pricing, Shopify versus, because lots of people say they want to look at Shopify versus whatever the competitor is, and I'll even do just Shopify alternatives or Shopify competitors, because those are generally what people search for when they're looking at a brand and figuring out whether they want to go with a Shopify or someone else in the marketplace. And so this is a graph from Wallfar when we worked with them over the last year. So we took over the account in March, and the other agency was doing a bit of competitor bidding, but we restructured things in March, and basically we saw a spike in the number of people who were converting on those campaigns, because we realized there are lots of people who are going to search for the competitor to Wallfar, which has about 10x more money and spends tons of money on like outdoor and radio and TV. And if people are going to search for that brand, well, we should bid on it and bid against them, because even though they have more money than us, if we can just bid on their brand name and have people click on the ad and go to our landing page, there's a chance we can get some people to convert, because maybe people don't like their brand name as much, but people know who they are, so they're going to want to see what other alternatives come up in the marketplace. We saw a dip in the August because one of our competitors got tons of funding, and they decided they're just going to join the race, which is okay. I realized that at the end of August, it wasn't a blip where it's just a slow season. So I redid our ads in September, which started us back up to where I needed to be. And then at least in Canada, December is a pretty slow time for financial products in general, and people sometimes buy, but not really. So for us, it's just to like pull back on our spend a little bit in December, since we know people are going to spend a lot of time with family and not necessarily want to spend, $5,000 or $10,000 they haven't invested at that time of year. So quick summary, basically, it's really important to think about who your customers think your competitors are. I think it's really important you build your account correctly. I always say, when in doubt, to build a dedicated landing page so you can build a full experience and talk about your brand. I would never want to send traffic to the homepage. I focus on the right keywords. Competitor campaigns are always a great place to test copy, so I'm always figuring out what other copy can we test and what other places can we test to figure out like what's going to move the needle on the business. Don't bash your competition. Don't be a Magento, because it just makes you look really shoddy. And then always be testing, because it's important to always just test and figure out how much you can get better performance out of your campaigns and not just rest on their current laurels. And then, as I said a couple times earlier, but I want to kind of end on this point, people can't pick you as a solution if they don't know you're an option. I've taken over enough accounts over the last few years to find out agencies don't bid on their competitor terms, and I think it's a really huge missed opportunity, A, to get a cheaper CPA, B, to get tons of customers, and C, just test a lot of ad copy and have a lot of fun. Cool, so that's my presentation, and that's the question I'm going to leave, is basically how do you want to grow your business in 2018, and I think competitor campaigns is one way to do that. Thank you.
This was originally recorded at a Brighton SEO conference. If you want to listen to more episodes or find out about the conference itself, you can do at brightonseo.com.